Hey, everybody. The 8 weeks for this class is almost over. It's crazy. There's so much more in theater I wanted to get to, but we crammed in some stuff and didn't get to others. Theater can be, if you wish it to be, a lifelong study. And I highly encourage you to come back to the CRC theater department, take acting classes, take stagecraft class. What an interesting class. Um, Speaking of what we're about to talk about today, just a little bit theatrical design. Uh, Go and get into plays, audition for plays, be involved in theater. It's a troubled and challenged art form right now, but it's a wonderful, thrilling, exciting art form as well. And there's so much you can learn outside of this class and on your own if you continue to pursue it. Um, I'm going to talk just a little bit about theatrical design. I want you to get the bulk of what you might get uh, out of a study of this area from the videos about actual designers we have in this module. Um, but this is certainly near and dear to my heart. Um, I sometimes work as a scenic designer. I'm primarily a director and a teacher, but I sometimes work as a scenic designer. My wife is a costume designer, professional costume designer, was the primary costume designer at the B Street Theater in Sacramento for years and has been a designer in all over the country. And it's an amazing art form. You'll notice when you look at the lecture notes for this that unusually the first thing they say is that uh, design is the least important element of theater in Aristotle's opinion, based on Aristotle's six parts of theater. Not necessary in most definitions of theater, which is that you need an actor, an audience, and a space, and that's what the three elements you have to make theater um, actually be occurring. I kind of believe that. So you don't need costumes. People will be wearing plain clothes. You don't need a set. You don't need lighting design if you're outdoors and during the daytime, people can see what's going on. Um, and yet it's so special and wonderful and what makes theater something, as we typically know it, something far beyond just simple storytelling. Not that simple storytelling or simple performing of characters can't be powerful. I've seen great theater with one person sitting at a desk doing a monologue, a la Spalding Gray. I've seen jeans and t-shirt Shakespeare. I've seen musical theater with no costumes, no lights, no special sets. That was wonderful just because of the quality of the singing voices and the quality of the material being sung. Um, but really, there's something magical about a big old set and amazing costumes and there's also something magical about very realistic costumes that really puts us in a place in the 1940s or into 2023 um, that that is special and important in its own way, even if we don't really deem it to be necessary for theater to happen. The basic areas of design are scenic or scenery or set design, sometimes called all three, costumes, which is what the actors actually wear, properties, which are physical elements that are smaller than the set. So things that actors carry around, things that they use. Um, Sometimes properties falls under small pieces of furniture and stuff. And there's always a debate between set designers and properties designers who's in charge of the furniture. Or there's not always a debate. There's sometimes a debate. Lighting, which is not only being able to see what's going on, but creating mood and feeling and emphasis through the use of lighting. Sound design, which has become increasingly important as we have more sound reinforcement, but also sound effects, music, background music, all that kind of stuff. And then special effects, projections are increasingly important in theater, pyrotechnics, explosions, things that fall out of the sky, things that blow up, things that fall apart, things that are magical. And all of that would fall under a larger rubric, which is sometimes used, which is scenography, which is combining all those design areas into one um, larger thought about what are all the physical elements that make up that which is the environment for the actor. Um, And so what you see and hear when you go to a play are two things: the actor speaking, moving about, the essential element of theater, and then everything else that you see and hear is in some ways the product of design, or a collaboration between design and directing. And that is what we call scenography. Um, the elements of design in many ways are the same as you would study in an art class. What are the elements of art? Um, uh, Mood and tempo and rhythm and symmetry and balance and color and light and dark and contrast and sound. Um, but generally, we preach a lot in theater that the design is supposed to support the play and support the actor, that it's supposed to make their telling more effective, not distract from that. That doesn't mean you can't have mega exciting, thrilling visual sets, costumes, lights. You absolutely can. Broadway shows and a lot of musicals and a lot of shows in general have really visually thrilling sets and lights and costumes and props and sound. But they're supposed to support and enhance the performance of the actors and the telling of the story that's being told, not exist purely for their own purposes. Um, each area is its own area. There are some designers who are proficient in multiple areas. There are some people who are vaguely proficient in some area of design, but also in other areas of theater. Um, the basic uh, process that designers go through, as kind of outlined in your lecture notes, is that they start with information that they get from reading the play and talking to the director and collaborating with the other designers to understand what is the concept of the play. What does the director want? What does the play script demand? What are we all working together? What is this play is going to be a metaphor for whatever it is. And then they go through several stages once they've sort of agreed on that or on board for that. Visualization, which is kind of making sketches and generating ideas and throwing things out there. Conceptualization, which is actually taking those ideas and sketches and consultation with the director, actually putting them down as actual drawings or computer files or photographs or whatever the medium is that the particular designer uses to show their design work. And then implementation, which is to take those designs and actually make something out of them, build a set based on the model that the set builder made or the computer aided model that the set builder made, make and find and borrow and build costumes based on the sketches that the costume designer did, focus and implement and make work the lights based on the lighting plot that the lighting designer did in the previous two phases. The videos are going to show sort of an idealized, thrilling version of design, but a lot of design work is it's work. You have to get things built. You have to get things made. You have to get things found. Costume designers work with fabric and build amazing costumes and cut them and drape them and pattern them. But they also spend a lot of time in thrift stores just trying to find things for realistic plays, trying to find clothes from the 70s for a play set in the 70s, trying to find things that'll work, that aren't too expensive, and that'll function properly. Set designers also have to deliver something that can't be built in a shop with a limited budget and with the people that are available in that shop. And we haven't talked at all about all the people who work with designers to make design happen that is uh, actually functional. You will have on a production a set designer who works with the director to create some amazing idea that is then um, shown through sketches and ground plans and maybe a model that is built out of the kind of materials you would use in an art class, or maybe a computer-aided model that is a walkthrough that you do through a computer-aided drafting system of some sort. Then once that's designed, someone has to actually make it and put it on the stage. There's a person called the technical director usually who gets those drawings from the designer, and with the designer creates actual drawings of how to build things. And then there are carpenters and specialists and painters who actually have to all work together to make the thing, put it on the stage, make it work, make the doors open. Um, it's a it's a big collaborative process that is once again composed of people who don't get to go out on stage at the end of the play and take a curtain call. Um, but what's great about design and then the implementation of design is it makes a place in the theater for people who maybe aren't naturally drawn to being on the stage and having everybody look at them, but can sew. If you can sew and are a good collaborator, you can work in the theater. If you are an electrician, you can work in the theater. The theater needs electricians. Lights and sound require electricians to make all the things that make those things function happen. If you can paint, you can work in the theater. If you can build things, you can work in the theater. And if you can manage, if you can run a crew or be an effective part of a crew that just pushes pieces of scenery on stage and brings them back off at the exact right time in the play, you can work in the theater. I've said previously that it's possible to think of actors and the play as at the forefront of theater. It's what we see and what we hear, and that even the director, who's the boss of the whole theater, is maybe not as important as those things. And it's possible to think of the design areas as subsidiary to those things as well. But to the people who make them, nothing is more important than the work they do. Um, and all of it, once you have decided on an actual theatrical concept, if you're going to have a set and if you're going to have costumes, then they do become incredibly important. Getting them wrong really changes and messes up the mood of the play, the message of the play. Getting them right greatly enhances the experience that people have watching a play. So everybody is important in a theatrical production, which is why, once again, as I mentioned before, it's sometimes called the collaborative art. You definitely need a playwright, even if it's a dead playwright, like Shakespeare or something, to make a play. You definitely need actors on the stage to make a play. But you also definitely need people who are functioning backstage so that when there's a quick change out of one costume into a next from somebody, the quick change actually happens and the actor gets back on stage in time in the right costume, looking right. And then that wardrobe assistant who made that quick change happen with the actor gets the next one set up for the next actor who has to do the same. And without all those people working together, from the front of house and the box office to the people behind the scenes in the scenery, to the people who just are there during the rehearsal process to make that work and function, to the people who actually go out on stage and get the applause at the end, the collaborative art is so important and necessary. All right, you're going to look at these videos, which I think are really, really interesting. You're going to take a kind of final assignment. I'm going to give extra time on everything because of my getting these things up kind of very, 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 very late in the semester. So you should have enough time to complete these, and I'll get all the grades and everything out and done as fast as things get in. Thank you so much. I hope to see you in the theater.